past, honestly, the time of year where you need to add those guys. Like it was probably about June where your early season breakouts are done. And I mean, obviously you can pick up the Durans and those guys who get called up and are exciting, but the guys like Iglesias can be really valuable, especially if your team's already doing well. And doing well doesn't necessarily mean first. It can mean even like third, and you just want more depth to steady the ship. Like slow and steady can win the race where you just grind your way up some categories with guys like Iglesias. And I don't know. I think, like I said, I think we've hit the time in the year where it's time to stop chasing. Other than like someone really interesting, but generally time to stop chasing these stats that are never going to come and just accept life and grab Jose Iglesias and just enjoy the steady production.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Again, it matters what time in the, so, just as I said, it matters your standing, but also matters the time of the year. Early, you're looking for the upside. Here, you're looking for the playing time. So it just, these advice columns and waiver wires, it's not just the player, it's the player and the situation. So that's a good point there. All right, quick pitcher preview. Is there any pitchers that are coming up in the next week that either has a good two-start week or one good start that you like to pick up?
Yeah, so I mentioned Gomber, with my waiver wire pickups, but anytime I can get, well, actually I wouldn't say any, I would say basically none of the Coors Field pitchers, but if I get Gomber, I think that's a pretty good one. I've been chasing pretty hard people who are facing the Rockies on the road, or generally the Diamondbacks or the Pirates or the Marlins. So just, some guys who are facing some of those teams. Adrian Hauser will go to Pittsburgh. Eric Lauer should go to Pittsburgh. Those would be guys I would be interested in for that reason. Guys who I don't really like the guys who are facing the Diamondbacks last week, so I'll probably stay away from them. But I think those guys who are facing the Pirates, those Brewers who are facing the Pirates, I think that could be favorable matchups for those guys. And Hauser's available in some shallower leagues, and Lauer's available in a lot of them.
Yep. Moving.
Yeah, I was going to mention actually a possible Pirates pitcher. I'm a little nervous about him, but Tyler Anderson, he's two-start, and he's actually pitching with some length. His last three starts, he's gone a total of 18 innings and gotten 14 strikeouts. He's playing the Brewers one game, and he's going to be playing, I believe it's supposed to be the Phillies and Matt Moore. So it's not that bad of a matchup, but whether or not you're going to get any wins out of him, that's questionable, which is why I'm a little nervous about getting him. But there is the one-start guy that I'm looking at, and because he may be two-start the following week, because this is the time of year when he should be looking at future two-star pitchers, and that's Cal Quantrill. He's one start against St. Louis. He's eligible both as a reliever and a starting pitcher in CBS, and he's only owned in 11% of leagues. So he's a guy you may want to get, not just for this week, but maybe for next week when you have two starts. And he's got the upside. He can strike out people. He's done it before. If he can turn it around and turn it on and have a great week, he may help you do really well that week.
Yeah, I don't really see many pitchers this week. I think this week I'm actually going to focus more on some closer darts and second guys. Get the David. We talked about him a lot, but get the David Bednards right now on your team. That's got to be a priority. Brett Anderson, I'll throw another Brew in there. Goes to Pittsburgh. I love Brett Anderson. He's not going to get you the strikeouts, but he has a good shot at going deep into the game, and he doesn't walk many people. So I like those guys. Looking at Michael Wacha, got a good start against the Yankees, but then he faces Boston. It's tough, but he's been very good in those last three starts. 1-0 record, 3 ERA, 18 strikeouts in his last 15 innings. Sometimes players go on a streak, and Wacha is on such a streak right now. All right, we got a couple of mailbag questions here, some good ones this week. Maze Copeland asks, do you have any rules for trading with teams higher in the standings? If I'm running third, fourth, I have a hard time ever justifying a trade with the first place owner. Trading with second is usually a no-go, but I'll consider it. So he's talking about not the last place to first place. He's just talking about from fourth to second. I think there's nothing wrong with that, Fred.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I mean, if you don't want to do it because you just feel like you look at the standings and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm giving the guy in first a closer. If he gains 4 points and saves, I think we'll never catch him. I think that's fair. But I honestly look at the other team probably a lot less than most people do. I mostly I want to make a deal that makes sense for the other team. But once I establish that, then I'm mostly thinking about my own team because there's just so many variables. Like you could be like, oh, I'll never catch this team. They have Tyler Glasnow and Clayton Kershaw. You know what I mean? And I'll never catch them. And here we are a few weeks after I thought that, and they're both hurt. And now all of a sudden there's a window to catch them. So there's just so many variables. Like because
Yeah.
we deal with such large rosters and there's so many injuries that where, I'm mostly just trying to think about making my own team more complete.
Yeah, Ruvain, you have any issues with it?
I don't have any issues except for the fact that I don't want to be on the end where you're in fourth place and you trade with the second place team and that trade puts them over the top and helps them win. That'll just be very frustrating. So I don't have a problem doing it as long as I think that I have the better chance of getting on the upside at the end. I mean, that's what everyone thinks when they're making a trade. But if you think that there's any possibility where the other team will benefit more than you will and they're above you in the standings, I would not do it. But if they're below you in the standings, it actually helps you because they can steal points from the teams that are above you.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm any owner in a league, I hate when people trade because essentially, if the teams do it right, it helps both teams, and if it helps both teams, it hurts my team. So any trade not involving Ariel Cohen should theoretically hurt Ariel Cohen. So I'm always like, Darrell
But don't
asks,
veto. But don't veto them. Don't veto them for that reason. That's the wrong reason to veto a trade.
yeah, well, yeah. Uh, yeah, we have we play in some leagues with some crazy guys. Anyways,
Yeah.
Darrell asks, I'm trying to fill my last utility spot. Grossman, J.D. Davis, Conforto, McNeil are all options. 3 of 3 Mets. Which do you like rest of season? I think it's Conforto by a country mile. Do you agree?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Yep.
Next question. Carl asks, currently in last in a dynasty league due to injuries and some bad luck. I own Mike Trout, and I'm wondering if I should trade for a haul and what a good haul would be. Or should I hold and hope for a better 2022? I don't play in dynasty leagues. Do you play a lot of dynasty, Fred?
None, actually. No. I love 1 year leagues. I'll be honest. Like, I know a lot of the most serious players love dynasty leagues. I love 1 year leagues. I love starting fresh every year. I love the newness of it. It's just to each their own scenario.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't have the time to get so involved in the minor leagues. And listen, the dynasty players, God bless them. You know, they have a bigger understanding of the player pool than me. I make my money on the valuation, on the projections, on the auction strategy and theory. Going deep into knowing who the draft pick is for this guy, and he's in single A now, but he projects to be. I don't have the time to do that. So I like doing redraft more, and I also like starting from fresh. But let's attempt to answer it anyways. If you're Trout and you're there, I think it really depends on the rest of your dynasty league, and it depends on what you think you can get back in Trout. I wouldn't go over the approach of what should I get back in Trout. I think that it depends on how good the rest of your team is and what the market is for Trout right now. I mean, he's certainly injured, and I'd say you'd have to wait a little bit for him to get going, and maybe you can get a big haul. Certainly, if you're not close for 2022, I would trade it. If you're close, I mean, there's no better player than Mike Trout to have in your roster. That's how I would handle it.
Well, Trout is 29 years old. He was one of the top 5 picks this year. I think he's going to be one of the top 5 picks next year. He may even be another top 5 pick the following year. He still has another couple of very good years left in him. You'd have to get a really good haul in order to trade him because you're going to be trading away a possible potential top 5 player for at least the next 3 years. You can't guarantee that in any dynasty league and any guy you're getting from single A or double A. Like, let's say hypothetically you're big on Jason Dominguez. A lot of people are big on him because he's this big guy. His nickname is the Martian. He's going to be the next Aaron Judge. Would you trade Jason Dominguez and let's say a top pitching prospect for a proven commodity like Mike Trout? I can't see doing that.
It's very these dynasty questions tend to be very situation specific. That being said, I will say for Trout, like he's obviously like still arguably the best player in baseball, although I know there's some young guys who could, like Tatis could certainly take a run, Vlad can take runs at him and things like that right now. From a fantasy perspective, though, Trout doesn't steal bases anymore, and that matters a ton in fantasy. So if you look at going back to last season, 99 games, He's got 25 homers. Okay, so let's pace that out. So it's like a 40 homer guy, 43, 44 homer guy. So one of the most powerful players in baseball. But he's got 3 steals. So he's like a 5 steal guy. And he's about a 300 hitter in that stretch. So he's really good. He's a first round pick again next year. But he's not Tatis at this point in his career because he doesn't steal bases. I don't remember back to the question like if he specified the scoring format. But so my mind always goes to Roto. But in a Roto format, like I'd be open to trading Trout. I'd have to get a good haul, obviously, but I'd be open to it. I don't think I'd be open to trading Tatis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do Dynasty, but, when I make projections and do valuations, it's a 1-year projection. I would imagine that to really do this correctly, you'd have to project out, but also you'd have to, in terms of valuation on your team, you'd have to sort of have a target of when is your target? Do you think that you're going to be good next year, in 3 years, and the values that you would want to trade players for and against would really have to be pitted against time. So it's a very, very complicated approach really to do it right. And, 1-year projections are very highly variable. What do you think 3-year projections are? I mean, if I said to you, give me, rankings of the next 5 years, just rankings, and let's do a draft. It's a really hard challenge. Just 5 years. Do you know who in 5 years from now are going to be the top 10? I bet you that if you pick 10 players, maybe 1 or 2 of them will actually be in the top 10. If that.
Right.
Eric's question is, how do we view Kelenick's value moving forward? Reuven and I have never heard of this guy, Kelenic, so maybe you can help us.
Who is he? I don't know who he is.
We're Mets fans, so we don't know who he is.
Well, he's supposed to be a good player, but he hasn't actually been one so far. So, I'm at my wit's end with Kelenic, and I have him in some leagues. He just went to Coors Field for 2 games. I was like, this has to be it. Like, you have to get like 3 hits in those. Like, I was disappointed it was only 2 games, but I was like, you've got to get the 3 hits or a home run or something. How about 0 for 7, 3 strikeouts in the 2 games? I give up. I don't know what to do with him. I don't want to cut him.
Rest of season? I mean, if you're in a redraft league, I think his value depends on the size of your league, but if you're in a 10, 12-team league, I don't know that you really need to roster him in
10
in the
cut
redraft.
him. 10, I'm talking. I'm in 15, so 10 cut him.
15, it's close. For the rest of the season.
His last home run was on May 24th. Like he didn't even homer. He didn't homer for a long time before he was sent down. He hasn't homered since he's been back. He's got 3 hits since he's been back in 5 games. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. I don't know. I'm going to wait till Sunday because at least I have until Sunday. I'm going to probably resist cutting him at least for a little bit. But
here's a better question. Who's going to have more value rest of season, Jared Kelenic or Wander Franco?
Franco, I guess,
so?
Yeah. And I would have never said that before. Yeah, Franco. I can't say Kelenic. I can't say Kelenic like over anyone right now.
No. I'd rather have Jose Iglesias in my roster.
Well, if you're going for a title, if you're tops in your league, you can't stomach Kelenic in your lineup. You have to bench him. In one of my leagues, I had him. In Wander Franco, I sat him because I'm somewhere near the top, and his batting average is killing me. Wander Franco's batting 200. He's batting.
If you're
200.
in last place,
you got nothing to lose.
You keep Kelenic. It's again the risk thing. There's upside, but I think that his median is pretty low. So if you're in last place, 7th place, 8th place, probably doesn't pay to cut him because maybe.
Yep.
If you're in 1st, 2nd place, there is plenty more people who are more beneficial to your roster than Kelenic right now. Even 15 leagues in redraft. Dynasty keeper, totally different question. I'm not going to give up on him just yet.
Bench spots also matter so much. Like if you're in a league with like 3 or 4 bench spots, or you have a lot of injuries, so you're basically down to 3 or 4 bench spots, then I don't know if you can keep them. Like say in an NFBC where you've got 7 bench spots, if your team's healthy and you can hold him in one of those 7 bench spots, almost treating him as like he's still in the minors and you're waiting. What you're really waiting for is for him to come around rather than for him to be promoted. I could see that. I think that's might be how I handle him in my 15-team NFBC leagues. Is if I have injuries, he's gone. if my team's healthy and I've already got like 2 or 3 starters and a reliever. Also, after the trade deadline, it doesn't make as much sense to stash potential closers because there's not going to be any more trades. So, so some of those guys maybe you can drop. I'm going to have to look at it. If he makes it through, we'll see if he makes it through this Sunday for me. I'm not sure if he will. I kind of hope he does. I hope he does something to make me want to keep him.
Yeah, I was gonna say the question is, what would it take for him over the next 7 days for you to say, let's put him in the lineup?